Hello everyone, today I'm going to do a video on my method of checking the lower suspension arm, making sure that it's not tweaked whatsoever. It's fairly easy to do. You might have to pick up a few things, such as like a lower plexiglass plate, which is like 4 millimeters. It doesn't have to be plexiglass. It doesn't have to be 4 millimeters. All it needs to do is act as a flat surface, so the actual kingpins, as you can see here and here, are raised up. So you can actually slide a gauge underneath to get a fairly accurate measurement. Okay? So that's all you really need for this setup. You do need like a fairly fine gradient ride height gauge with small steps. 0.1 millimeter steps is fine, or 0.2 millimeter steps is fine. I don't, well, you could get away with using like a touring car ride height gauge, but the thing is, though, you're not going to get that fine, minute measurement as you would with this. You can also use a set of vernier calipers, but really, just using this ride height gauge that I got here works just as well. So let's get to it. What I've done is first I actually go ahead and I do like a chassis check. I make sure that there are no screws protruding underneath the chassis. I make sure that the board that I'm using is nice and flat. I make sure that my servo is perfectly centered, so everything is all in alignment. Make sure that the camber settings are correct, race ready, toe in is all race ready. I just make sure everything is ready to go, so there's no errors that are going to adjust my results when I'm measuring the lower kingpins. You know, I'm probably going overboard with it, but the thing is, though, it's good to be like that just to make sure you've eliminated any possibilities of anything affecting your measurements. One other thing is I've actually gone ahead and I disconnected the shock here because the shock actually added a bit of a preload which raised the chassis like so. So the pod is freely moving. It's nice and flat. What you can do is just check to make sure that the chassis is nice and flat as it is. Okay, so it's all good to go. I've done the chassis check. I've done everything. I'm ready to go to take measurements of the arm. Now, all I'm doing is quite simply taking the gauge like so, as you can see in the screen here. So I am just simply measuring the kingpin when it touches the actual ride height gauge. As you can see, pretty self-explanatory. I'll do the other side. And what I'm doing is I'm just checking to make sure that both sides are equal. You could probably get away with 0.2 millimeters of a difference, so just one step difference on the ride height gauge. But ideally you want to have it perfect, as what you have here. So I know for a fact, and what you can do before I say anything else, you can, move the suspension up a little bit, make sure that everything's all nice and aligned, servo's all aligned. Let's just make sure. All right, good to go. Just pop the suspension up a bit, could be sticking somewhere, like so. Everything's not rocking. That looks pretty good. There we go. And then just go ahead, redo the measurement. 4.6. You do a tap again, just make sure everything's seated nice. 4.6. So perfect. So both left and right are both equal. You're good to go. You know that your left and right sides are perfectly even. The suspension arms aren't tweaked whatsoever. And you can go hit the racetrack. Now, if you do come upon a situation where there is a bit of a difference, like maybe 0.4 millimeters and up of a difference, you're going to have to choose which side you're going to adjust. It might be a little bit of a trial and error, but ideally you want to make sure that both sides are equal. Okay? And one more important thing is you want to make sure that all the shims that you're using in your kingpin suspension block setup are equal thickness, because if you have thicknesses that are different on this side, very well you might have like a 0.6 millimeter bit here and a 0.5 millimeter shim here. And when you do your gauge checks, it could be off. You want to make sure that everything is precise, both left and right, shims, springs, everything. Okay? Hope this was of help. Bye-bye.